So there's quite a bit to talk about with the Black Southern society during the antebellum period. First thing that we should recognize is that the population of the Black population in the South was growing throughout the antebellum period. Part of this was through natural reproduction. Well, the majority, it is through natural reproduction. And we have to remember that the terms of enslavement meant that the chattel slavery was passed from mother to child. So through that natural reproduction, a lot of what's happening here is that babies are being born, encouraged by the enslavers so that they can increase the amount of slaves on their plantations. There is an inherently violent element to this. Sometimes the enslavers took it upon themselves to force the women to have children. They encouraged marriages among the enslavers, but then used those among the enslaved, and then used those marriages to threaten those people that were being enslaved. So the vast majority of the Southern Black society is going to be enslaved. There is a significant portion of free people of color. There are biracial people in the South at this time. And in this Southern society, the free people tended to have a better position than what we would assume. They tended to be artisans. They could live in, they had skilled labor. They could live in towns and provide function there. Often we can see that the free people were able to purchase their loved ones through their work. So we had an awkward situation where there are some free people that owned other Black people because they were trying to liberate them. The terms of enslavement were harsh, and the violence is inherent in the system. And we can see that there is an internal trade during this time period. We can see that the internal trade is from the north to south, from east to west. The border states did not use as many enslaved people on the farms because the nature of their agriculture was different. The upper south used more, but not as many. So any extra population, and again, this is the violence of the system. When there were too many enslaved people on the plantation, they would break up families and they would send them south. And they would send them to the east, usually to the lower south, as a way to help to get money from those cotton producers. That does not mean that they passively accepted this fate. The African American community in the South, the enslaved population, forged communities. They forged families in this time period. They would gather in what they called night meetings, where they could tell stories about resisting the enslavement. They could develop family structures where even if families were broken up on the farm, elders would take the place of grandparents that had been lost, or new enslaved population would be brought in as brothers and sisters. And there is a religious element here. So the religion on the plantation was a mixture of Christian and African traditions. By the time of the Civil War, about 20% of the African population in the South would be considered Christian, but there were many other forms of this. They would adopt what they would like out of the Christianity, take what they needed, but then continue their old traditions as well. So we have a very rich cultural tradition in the Black South emerging even during this time of enslavement.